On this topic, we're going to be discussing 10 signs to know that a child is being abused. Join me after the break. Welcome back. This is Expression with Julie. Children often do not talk about their experiences or talk about the fact that they have been abused. Now, this could be because they feel that it's their fault or that they have been threatened by the predator. In some cases, they may feel that nobody would believe them, especially considering the person who has abused them. But there are signs that actually show that a child is being abused. 1. Changes in the child's behavior. Now, once a child is being abused, you can actually notice certain changes in that person's behavior. It's either the child becomes very reserved and enclosed, more or less, or she becomes aggressive or moody. Or in some cases, she becomes depressed. 2. The child avoids the abuser. You'll find that when a child gets close to the person abusing her or him, he begins to fidget, or she begins to fidget and would not want to be very close to that person. Now, we've had cases where the mother actually failed to notice why her child didn't want to get close to her lesson teacher. Now, that's because she failed to see the sign. So this is one such sign that will actually tell us that there's something going wrong somewhere. 3. The child begins to exhibit sexually inappropriate behavior. Now, of course, if a child has been abused, there's a tendency for that child to begin to exhibit some of these behaviors. She begins to want to do things that ordinarily she shouldn't be doing at her age. 4. Physical problem. Of course, this is expected. A child who has been physically abused will definitely probably have sores in her private or his or her private parts, and could have sexually transmitted diseases. And in some cases, that child could get pregnant. 5. A child who is being abused is definitely not going to be able to concentrate on her studies and learn. As such, it will affect his or her grades. Now, when a child begins to exhibit that sign, probably a child who has been doing very well academically, and suddenly it's withdrawn and begins to do badly in her studies, his or her studies, then I think it's time for the parents to take a second look at what could really be the problem. 6. Most children actually give clues. They may not be able to come out rightly to tell us that they are being sexually abused, probably because they are afraid or they don't think you would believe them. But they somehow give us signs, and as parents, we need to begin to look out for such signs, just in case our child is trying to tell us something and we are too busy to take note of it. 7. A sexually abused child is most likely to become sexually promiscuous. Yes, a child who has been abused, for instance, if a girl has been sexually abused, she probably will not see anything wrong with being sexually promiscuous. I mean, she's done it several times and there's nothing wrong with it. Of course, if she's been told that there's nothing wrong with that, there's a tendency for that child to either be withdrawn or to be sexually promiscuous. 8. Depression. Sexually abused children are most likely going to lose confidence in themselves. Why? They may feel it is their fault that they are being sexually abused. They lack self-confidence, they become withdrawn, and subsequently, they actually go into depression. Now, we have had cases where children go into depression, and parents, unfortunately, were not able to note that something was going wrong with that child. That child could actually be going through a lot, but because the parents don't have time to even look at that child, not to talk with the child, ask the child questions, they're not able to know that the child is depressed. I mean, our society today, we actually don't even know what depression is for some of us. We don't even know what it means to be depressed. We tend to even blame the child when she's depressed most often. 9. Suicide attempts. Now, most often, children who go into depression or have anxiety as a result of being sexually harassed most often begin to contemplate suicide. There have been cases, confirmed cases, where a child who was sexually abused by her dad, unfortunately, nobody believed her. Eventually, that child ended up committing suicide. So yes, we have cases where children think or attempt suicide as a result of being sexually abused. 10. A sexually abused child often is afraid of getting intimate with anybody, especially later in life. We've had cases where sexually abused adults who were abused sexually when they were much younger, even when they grow older, they still have difficulty having a close relationship with the opposite sex. And this is simply as a result of their experience while they were much younger. These and many more are signs that actually show that a child is being abused. Now, what do we do when we find out that a child or our child is being abused? The good thing is that there are organizations that have been set up and institutions that can actually come to our aid to help us take care of this issue. We don't need to fidget. We don't need to explode. We need to be calm about this for the sake of our child and go to the appropriate quarters so that something can be done to help that child get out of that situation. If you're yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can go to the comment section. Click on the like button and the bell button for notifications. Thank you.